This one moves ahead.
Oh, this is the green.
This one, okay. First off, thank you to Stephanie and BSF and Innovative Farmers Association for this award. But I must say it's kind of humbling, because although what we do is maybe out of the ordinary when we're out and about and farming, when you're standing here in front of a lot of the people that are here, it doesn't feel that innovative. But regardless, here I am. This is gonna have a little bit of a Twitter feel to it, because Mel went through my son and I's Twitter account and just pulled some pictures, so we'll use them as talking points, okay? And as was mentioned, we started 20 years ago doing zone tillage. We progressed from a shank to 8 years ago. We went to a colder machine, which is what you're looking at there. On our high residue ground, which we would consider our wheat stubble, we tend to do a fall pass and a spring pass. That's set up with the fall colder on it, and if you see on the rear of the machine, there's a receiver there that's running active guidance and controlling the steerable hitch that's integrated into the cart. We typically apply P&K for 2 years for corn and soybeans when we're going over in the scenario, minus our spring starter. Our starter is the same on all the acres we zone in the spring, which is a 35, 70, 20, 12 sulfur, 1 zinc, and then we balance the rest through this machine or in a spread program. If we're doing corn into bean ground, it's only a spring pass. You know, and things have been evolving. When you look at this, you change your. I found out today that doing the incremental approach was wrong, but that seems to be our nature. And so anyway, that's where we're at. On soybeans, we got a couple 1790 John Deere planters, 1632s, and we do them all no-till unless there's sins of fall that cause us to have to do a little bit of tillage, but that's not what we want to do. When you're doing this and changing things, you got to recognize that sometimes there'll be problems, or if you're not making the odd mistake, you're probably not moving forward either. It's not really to do with the land side of it, but I threw in my whopper of a mistake this past spring on this next slide. Thank you. That's how you go from 2 planters to 1 in less than 15 seconds. You know, like. So I guess the message is that you got to adapt or be prepared for change. You know, amongst our help and my family, because I did it, the most common thing I heard was, "Sure glad it was you." You know, and I can smile about it now, not so much that day. But, anyway. We side dress. We've stuck with urea because it's the cheapest form, and this is our current. We feel it's the best paying thing we do, more for less, and all that. You know, we got a bunch to do, so we tend to start early. At the same time, get somebody doing it when we're starting to plant white beans. We've modified or did a couple different things. This current configuration, that's a 40-foot bar. We've got a single coulter soil wire unit on an airbag. That's at 60-inch centers, a Montag cart with scales and steerable axles behind it, and we can do about 50 acres to a fill and cruise along at either side of 7 miles an hour, and it works. We do we do sell some straw, which I guess is a little bit of a nasty, but there's such high demand for it, or people that expect to get it. One of our complaints with our green combine, we got a pair of 660s, has been the lack of ability to spread chaff when we're windrowing, and this is a chaff spreader. It's not just set up the way it is when we're spreading. There should be a blocker at the back, and you can't see, but we've got the sieves blocked off, and where the grain loss go through, those holes opened up. But everything coming off the sieve has to drop down into the chaffer and get thrown sideways. You know, we trade quite a bit of straw for manure. We'll typically maybe cover maybe 300 acres a year with dry manure, and my son has a hog barn, and we manage some manure for some rented farms, and maybe 2 million gallon or something like that of hog manure. This one is kind of interesting. We've been using single cut red clover as our primary cover crop. Blake's sitting out there thinking, or going to tell you tomorrow, that it's just a single species, so we're not doing as good as we could do, you know. But it's the cheapest one to plant. We use the cheapest piece of equipment, being a 4-wheeler and frost seeding to get it on. And this picture on the left is we're pulling zones in after there's been 4 or 5 ton of dry cattle manure applied on that piece, and on the right shows what it's looked like a few weeks or a month later after it's, you know. And so the zones and everything's gone, but they'll come back at a later date. Fooled where we didn't have that's oats and radish, and there was also crimson clover in there that was mixed in with the fertilizer and the soil wire and applied. That's not a perfect system, and I'd sooner see total ground cover, but can be done because you're mixing right through the zone. Some of the little seeds don't like the depth they get put at, but it is an option, and we've done it with just 50 pounds of oats too. Did 250 acres of I don't know whether you can read it. It says what the 8 species are on the bottom. That may not be enough species for Blake either. So it but anyway, we've got 250 acres of that out right now. We did do 100 of it, but we pulled the fall zone through. Plan is to leave it and zone it, plant it, and kill it right at planting time, and so that's, you know, evolving or trying different things. A couple years ago, we flew some cereal rye into some corn. I think we did it too late. Snow came too early. Sins of harvest were a problem with melting snow, and it wasn't entirely successful. But, you know, listening to the last speaker before this, I'm open to ideas, or I'd like to figure out how to you know, and maybe with our side dresser to get something going more in standing corn. Anyway, I'm going to do it quick. That's my oldest grandson. You see he's into worms already, and I'll just leave you with the thought: because of these generations, we need to keep trying to improve our ground and leaving things better than we found them. Thank you. We're going to bring up the Twitter.